Ragnaloardmon. This deck had quite a bit of fun moments back in BT3, but now, 7 sets later, it's time to get some new support. And like the Justmon starter deck review video, it's time to look at the cards for this deck as well. As always, if you enjoy these types of videos, do consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and hitting that notification bell for more future content. Starting with 4 copies of Sukudomon, this baby was a red baby in BT4. That if your Digimon was level 7, gain a memory. This card saw little to no play, and only was it cheated with an Agumon did it actually make some impact. But the new Sukudomon also gains you memory, but only if you play another Digimon with Legend Arms in its traits. Overall, how do I feel about this egg? Honestly, I don't feel too good about it, but let's review over all the other cards first before we give a final opinion of the deck. For rookies, there are 4 different rookies again, and again, 4 copies of each one. Starting off, Zubamon is the first card where I'm starting to get a little scared. For honest reasons, that's a lot of text. But on play, you may place this Digimon under one of your Digimon with Legend Arms in its traits, or one of your black Digimon as its bottom Digivolution card to reveal the top card of the deck. If it's a Digimon with Legend Arms in its traits and it has a play cost of 7 or less, play it without paying its memory cost. Otherwise, add it to your hand. Its inheritable simply lets you delete a Digimon with 3000 DP or less if the Digimon above it has Legend Arms in its traits, or you have a black Digimon in play. A lot of card effects deal with playing cards for free, but in terms of looking way ahead, I still don't see this deck being super competitive. Kotomon is a generic 2-cost play Digimon that is cheap to play with an okay stat line. But Chikurimon again is the Solarmon and Psychmon equivalent that will definitely see play. Again, to counter the on-play reduction cost in the BT10 meta, this will be very important. Ludomon, the last level 3 Digimon, does the exact same thing as Zubamon, except it goes under a Digimon with the Legend Arms traits or a red Digimon instead. Luckily, all of your level 5s and lower have a play cost of 7 or less, meaning you'll be able to quickly climb to your level 6 and Ragnaloardmon more easily. But overall, is this still too slow? Level 4 wise, there are 3 possible options with Zuba-Eagermon, Gladdymon, and Tia-Ludamon. Again, each one has 4 copies. Zuba-Eagermon has an on-play cost that lets you place it under a Digimon with Legend Arms in its traits, or a black Digimon as its bottom Digivolution source, and let you delete a Digimon with 5000 DP or less. Its inheritable is the same as the Zubamon. Tia-Ludamon has a similar effect, but goes under a Digimon with Legend Arms or a red Digimon instead, and it gives Reboot. And while this Digimon is Legend Arms for its inheritable, it gets Blocker. My issue with the current state of this deck is a lot of your plays are based on playing the Digimon instead of Digivolving into them. Sure, you can Digivolve into them conventionally, in the raids, but the way the deck was designed makes it feel like you want to on-play them, when there's a few issues already. Number 1, giving your opponent any large amount of memory can really bite you back, especially in formats that have OTK raised metas like Metal Garurumon X. Number 2, placing these Digimon out also creates vulnerabilities in removing your stacks. Option cards can easily delete these Digimon, which is why I loved Greymon decks so much for their effect protection. The last level 4 for this deck is simply Gladdymon. This card is the Meramon equivalent from the Justmon deck for cheap Digivolution cost, but it must be a black Digimon that you Digivolve from. For level 5s, this starter deck comes with 8 in the form of 2 Duramon, 2 Nightmon, and 4 Raijin Ludomon. Finally, the wall of text is starting to lessen. Duramon simply as a your turn, when this Digimon would Digivolve into a Legend Arms or Black Digimon, reduce the memory cost of the Digivolution by 1. End of turn, it gets the DNA Digivolve effect that lets you go into Ragnaloardmon if you have a second stack built up. Raijin Ludomon is a Digimon that can be deleted by your opponent card effects, and has the same DNA Digivolve effect as Duramon. Between these two, I love Raijin Ludomon much more, for the fact that you have protection. Unfortunately, there's 2 issues with this card: that it doesn't protect from DP reduction or bounce. Why would you develop cards like Greymon X and Metal Greymon Alterous mode, but not give multiple forms of protection for this Digimon? It just seems like a huge cornerstone that you want this guy to live. And the last level 5, Nightmon, which is a red-black level 5 Digimon that is simply vanilla and has 7000 DP. Do keep in mind, I had to double check this, but Lord Nightmon cannot play either the Gladiamon or Nightmon for the fact that they aren't yellow. But Deltamon now has a possible 1-cost Evo level 5 if you wanted to use this with black-red decks. For level 6s, this deck has 2 copies of Durandamon and 4 copies of Ragnaloardmon. Durandamon gets a +1 security check and a +3000 DP if you add a Digivolution card under it. Weird, cause I thought that was a Dorogoramon and Alphamon thing. And when attacking, you may reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, then play a Digimon with a play cost of 7 or less that has Legend Arms in its traits without paying its memory cost. This is the key card that will definitely help this deck succeed, mainly because you can climb into this in the raise, push, and start building a fast secondary stack quickly. The best part, its inheritable gives your Ragnaloardmon built in a delicate plan. Ragnaloardmon on the other hand, once per turn, when a card is placed under this Digimon's Digivolution cards, this Digimon cannot be deleted by effects or returned to its owner's hand or deck until the end of your opponent's next turn. i.e., this is the protection I was looking for. Ultimately, the goal for this deck seems to be to build either your Durandamon or Ragnaloardmon and start trying to build the secondary stack as quickly as possible. Ragnaloardmon has the best form of protection and only loses to Chaos Degradation. Its other effect, like Durandamon, only triggers when this Digimon is Digivolved into. Finally, for its inheritable, while this Digimon is Ragnaloardmon, it's unaffected by your opponent's Digimon card effects. A very powerful effect that prevents your opponent's Digimon effects from either bouncing, deleting, or de-Digivolving it. But option cards are still fair game. Now the 2 copies of Ragnaloardmon. This card is a Digivolve from black or red level 6 Digimon for 6 memory, or a DNA from a red and black level 6. When Digivolving, Blitz. And if you DNA Digivolve for every 4 cards in this Digimon's Digivolution sources, you can delete one of your opponent's Digimon with a play cost of 20 or less and trash the top card of their security. In addition, when a card is removed from their security stack, unsuspend this Digimon. Ragnaloardmon has a lot of powerful effects that, if built into with both Durandamon and Ragnaloardmon, can make for a very potent boss monster. As for option cards, this deck comes with Legend Arms Alliance, a black-red card that lets you play a Digimon with a play cost of 7 or less, with Legend Arms and its traits from your hand without paying its memory cost. Then, you can delay for revealing the top 4 and reorganizing them next turn. For 4 memory, this sets it up so that even with a memory fixer, you choke your opponent to 1. But what are more effective ways you don't have to rely on this card? Izzy Azumi is the first tamer that comes to mind, providing a stable black memory source and removes the dependence of both colors to play the Alliance card. But that free body element is nice. Finally, 2 copies of Direct Smasher, another 7-cost option card that can have its color requirements ignored if you have a Digimon with Legend Arms in its traits. This deletes one of your opponent's Digimon with the highest DP. And again, another possible option card that could go into the 3 Musketeers. Overall, in going over the card by card for this starter deck, I'm going to have to playtest this extensively to figure out the playstyle. After all, Alphamon was one of the decks where I had to condition myself not to Digivolve so recklessly in the raise just to net another draw. But what are your thoughts on this deck? Do you think Ragnaloardmon can be competitive? Let me know in the comments below, because after this, I'll be doing another breakdown series of videos for BT10. This is Digi-Panda, logging out.